That initial migration of 1806 was a colonial experiment in settlement, which was almost an entire failure. The idea behind it was that the Chinese settlers would be a trading bridge between the East and Latin America. All of the 200 or so men that arrived were given free passage to return to China should they not like Trinidad. And as it goes, mostly they didn't. So by the 1810s, there were barely more than 24 of that original group left. It was the first organized settlement of Chinese in the Americas. The second group of Chinese came to Trinidad after the abolition of slavery as indentured laborers. Chinese peasants in Guangdong and Fujian provinces would have seized the opportunity to flee China during the turbulent years of the Taiping Rebellion. Historian Wally Luklai explains.
Guangdong and Fujian, which are in South China, Southeast China, were the places which traditionally have been most accustomed to the arrival of foreign traders, going as far back as the Arabs and the Indians and so on. While the imperial court up in the north was concerned with its own affairs, they tried to leave the business of overseas trade to the people who were furthest away from them. Right. So these two provinces, as a result, developed a very vigorous overseas trading connection, plus a people and a population who were not afraid of foreigners, so to speak, right. or you could say less afraid than the northerners. Their options were not just internal migration, which is how your average northerner would have oriented himself, but they had external options too.
About 3,000 Chinese came to Trinidad during the 1840s, 50s and 60s to work in sugar as indentured laborers.
They were offered 5 years, they were offered free passage, they were offered a certain wage, which was usually somewhere in the region of $4 to $6 a month. They were offered free food. Some of the Chinese were offered free food. Some of them, like the Indians, were not. But those who were not were often offered a plot of land. It's not clear how many of them actually got that, but that was there in some of the contracts. And in the case of the Chinese, unlike the Indians, because there were missionaries who were involved as intermediaries in the thing, they wanted to encourage family migration. And so they tried to attract women to come with some of the men folk. Some people took advantage of this, and this was how the women came along.
However, unlike East Indian indentured laborers who were guaranteed in their contracts a return passage to India if they so desired, Chinese indentures were not given the return passage clause, and ultimately this is why the whole system started to unravel, since including the clause made Chinese labor too expensive. By the end of the 1860s, new Chinese indentureship had essentially petered out. Chinese migration to Trinidad continues even up to today.